let's start. Citizen and dependents. Who are called as a citizen, or who can be considered as a dependents? Let's see. US citizen will include three persons. Okay, one is the individual who are basically born in United States, or the second is whose parents is a US citizen. Okay, they can also be called as a US citizen for the purpose of, see, right now what we are going through is for the purpose of 1040 individuals, right? Part 1 is all about individuals. Okay, and the third person is if an individual is born in the state of Puerto Rico, Guam, or US Virgin Island. Okay, so these are some separate states over there, but even if you are born in these states, you will be called as a US citizen. Okay, so this is a definition of US citizen. Why we are learning this? Because the person who is a US citizen or a US resident earning the income, okay, earning income from US source will have to file a 1040 return, will have to pay taxes. Okay, so for that you first have to understand what is US citizen. US citizen is someone who is born in United States, or whose parents is a US citizen, or who is born in any of these states. Okay, next is dependents. Let me see if anyone is there in the waiting room or not. Okay, dependents. What do you mean by dependent? If you have seen the 1040 form right now, I'm sharing the 1040 form over here. You can see one column that is called as dependents over here. Okay, here you can claim as many as dependent as a qualifying child or maybe a qualifying relative. Okay, what is the benefit of this? We will understand this when we start with the chapter credits. So when you are claiming any person as a dependent on your tax return, for that person, you will receive a tax benefits, right? You will get some credits, some education related credits you can claim, some child tax credit, child and dependent care credit, that we will learn in the credits chapter. Okay, so right now let's understand what do you mean by dependent. Okay, if a person meets all the three conditions, okay, so he will be considered as a dependent on your tax return. Let's say Mr. A is our taxpayer. Okay, now he is having two childs and one parent also, so he can claim all these three person on his 1040 return under this dependent section. Okay, the child, both the child he can claim here, and the parent also he can claim here. But what are the conditions? That dependent should follow, should meet all the three conditions which are mentioned here. You guys are writing along with me?
Yes.
Okay, if I'm going fast, let me know. I'll slow up my speed. For claiming a dependent, that person should meet, dependent should meet all the three conditions. Okay, what are the three conditions? Dependent taxpayer test is the first condition. Means this child, both the child and the parent should not be a dependent of anyone else. Okay, any other person, he should not be a dependent. Okay, now, yes, someone is having any doubt? Let's say Mr. A is claiming child 1, child 2, and parent 1. Now there is Mr. B. Okay, he is also claiming child 1, child 2, and parent 1. So this is not allowed. The dependent can only be a dependent on any one taxpayer's tax return. He or she cannot be a dependent on two different tax returns. Okay, so first criteria is that person should not be a dependent on anyone else's tax return, right? Next is joint return test. What does this test means? You cannot claim a dependent, a married person who files a joint return. Let's say child 1 is married to Mrs. Child 1. Okay. Now these two, both of them are filing a 1040 return in a joint status. Now you know what is MFJ when you're filing a married filing joint return. So if this both are filing a MFJ separately, then this child cannot be claimed as a dependent on Mr. A's tax return. Okay. Are you getting my point, guys? First and second is clear. Third and the last one is the person whom you are claiming a dependent should be a resident or should be a citizen of a US. Citizen of US, you guys are clear, right? This definition. Resident means what? You should have passed a green card test, right? You should have a green card. You should be a resident, legally resident in United States. So if all the three conditions are met, you can claim that person as a dependent on your tax return. So this is very basic definition of dependent. Now in dependent, there will be more bifurcation. But first, let me know, do you have any doubt or any question in this three criteria?
Can you explain the second criteria again?
Okay. Second criteria is what? Let's say I'll take one example so it will be clear. Mr. A wants to claim his child 1 on his tax return. Okay. But this child is married, already married to, let's say, Mrs. C. And they both are together filing a MFJ return. Okay. So Mr. A cannot claim this child on his tax return because this child is already filing a separate return with someone else as a MFJ status. So second criteria is joint return test. The child should, or maybe whatever is the dependent, maybe whoever is the relative, should not be filing a separate return with someone else.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes. One more question. So do they have any age limit? Like maybe if the child is 18 years or something, they cannot claim a dependent credits or something like that?
Yes, that we are coming to the next point. That is qualifying child and qualifying relative. Okay, there is a age limit. Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Can anyone claim a dependent in MFJ? Like
yes, you can see. Let's say Mr. A and Mrs. A is there. Okay.
Yeah.
They both are filing a MFJ return. Now they have one child. Okay. So this child can be claimed as a dependent on their MFJ return.
Okay.
Okay, so anyone can claim. See, if you see the format of 1040, this is the 1040. You have to first elect the filing status. Let's say MFJ is selected. Can you mute yourself? Yeah, thanks. Okay, so MFJ is selected. You have to enter your first name. You have to enter your spouse name. Taxpayer's name will be there. Spouse name will be there. And yes, they can claim their child as a dependent over here. Okay. And in that case, the credit will also be changed. The amount will change. So that don't worry about the credit, what will be the amount and everything. That we will understand properly in the credits chapter. Okay, so any person, single person can also claim anyone as a dependent. MFJ, MFS, any filing status can claim anyone as a dependent.
One more question I have. Hello, am I audible?
Tell me.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
So in the first example where you said that Mr. A cannot claim if his dependent is filing marriage joint MFJ, right? But if his child is filing separate return, like he's married but then he's filing separate return, can Mr. A still go ahead and call his child a dependent?
Yes, yes. See, only these three conditions should be met. The dependent taxpayer test means he should not be, let's say, Mr. A. What's your name? Who is asking the question?
Sudipta.
So, sorry, you are not audible.
Sudipta.
Sudipta, okay.
Yeah.
And let's say me, okay, Siddhi. And there is one child whom you are taking care of. Okay, let's say Mr. C is the child. Okay, so now you want to claim Mr. C on your tax return because you're saying I am taking care of him, I am incurring all the expenses and all, and I am saying no, I want to claim this person on my tax return. So Mr. C cannot be claimed on your return and my return together. Either it can be claimed on your 1040 or my 1040. Got it? Only
Yeah.
one person's tax return that child is qualified to be claimed as a dependent. Now, second point is your question was joint return. If this Mr. C is not filing joint return but filing a separate return with some, like no one is there, like single
Yeah.
is the filing status. Okay, so in that case the second point will not apply and Mr. C will eligible to be called as a dependent on Sudipta's tax return.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
only this three condition you have to keep in mind. If they fall under this three, then they are going to be eligible to be called as dependent.
So I'm saying when the status is not single but married, filing separately. If you
Okay,
see,
married filing separately.
right.
Yeah, then also it's fine. Only MFJ here, only MFJ is related. That person should not file a joint return.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other question, guys? Yeah, you're not audible properly.
Now am I audible?
Yeah.
एग्जाम्पल में बोला था कि जो जूनियर था उसके अंदर कर सकते हैं
Oh, wait. You are actually not at all audible.
now am I audible?
You're audible, but your voice is very distracted.
Can I ask you in the chat box?
Yeah, you can write in the chat box. No issue.
Just coming.
Apart from this, anyone else? Okay. So till then, he's writing in the chat box. I want you guys to write it down. Everyone has written this down, right? I'm moving to next slide then. Okay. Next is now the dependent. If you see on the 1040 form, we have one checkbox. Whether that person is a qualifying child, okay, or a qualifying relative. See, your relationship is there. Here you can see either you can mention a son or daughter or maybe other relatives. Drop down arrow will be there. When you file the tax return, you will see at that time in the input screen relationship you will have to mention. Now, if you are a qualifying child, you will receive a child tax credit. Okay. But if you are a qualifying relative, then you can't take a child tax, but your credit for other dependent will be check mark or checkboxed. Okay. So let's understand what is qualifying child and what is qualifying relative. Okay, I have received Hitat's question. Can we claim person as a dependent if he is filing joint return only for the purpose of withdrawal? Yes. Only for the purpose of withdrawal, if it is, then we can claim him as a dependent. See, here in the joint return test, the person is filing single, then it's fine. The person is filing HOH, not HOH. The person is filing MFS, then also we can take him as a dependent on our tax return. But a person is filing MFJ, then we cannot take him as a dependent. But there is an exception that if the person is not having any income, there is no income, okay, only for the purpose of refund he is filing a tax return. Okay, when you see here the 1040 form, there is no income, nothing is given, but just he want to claim a refund. He was working, the child was working at some other place, and he received some W2 incomes, and on that W2 incomes there were some withholding taxes. Okay, so this withholding tax he will have to file a return to take a refund. Okay, so only for the purpose of refund, if he is filing the joint return, then it is allowed. Got it, guys? I'll mention it over here so you can add it in your chart. For second purpose, MFJ is not allowed, but exception is if you're filing just for the purpose of just for taking refunds. Okay, got it, guys? Any confusion in this one? The last point which we discussed right now. Hitat, you got it right?
Yes.
Okay. So next is, now we need to decide whether this dependent is a qualifying child or a qualifying relative, because based on this our the credit will depend. If it's a qualifying child, you can easily take child tax credit, but if it's a qualifying relative, it's not a child, then you can take a other dependent credit. You will understand the limits and amounts, how much you can take the credit in the credits chapter. Let's first understand what is qualifying child. If you are a qualifying child, you must meet 4 tests. That is, first is relationship test. Second is age test. Now also Dikta, you were asking the question, that your answer is here. Age test will come into the picture when you are checking the qualifying child. Third is residency test, and the fourth is support test. Okay, first is relationship test, means the person, the qualifying child should be your relative. It can be your son, daughter, stepchild, foster child, brother, sister, half brother, half sister, any XYZ. Okay, but that should be your relative. So the first condition is relationship test. Okay, and you must meet all the conditions here. Okay, next condition is age test. The person whom you are claiming as a child should be of age up to 19 years. Okay, 0 to 19 years you can claim them as a qualifying child, and if they are between 19 to 24 years plus a full-time student, then also you can claim them as a qualifying child. So this is the second test, that is age test. Now there is an exception to this too. If the child is permanently disabled, then the age test criteria will not be seen. At any age, if a person is a disabled, permanently disabled, then that person can be a part of your qualifying child. Okay, first is relationship test. He or she needs to be in your relation, like he or she should be your son, daughter, child, or your brother, sister are also fine. Half brother, half sister are also fine. Descendant of any of this above mentioned. Anyone can tell me what is descendant and what is ascendant? Anyone? No one? See, ascendant means someone who are grandparents side, right? Let's say Mr. X. So his father, his grandfather, they are all your ascendants. But Mr. X child, right, and grandson, they are all your descendants. Okay, so it's like just a hierarchy. If they are younger than the taxpayer, then they are descendants. They are elder, they are ascendants. Okay, ancestors, we call it them as ancestors, right? You can remember in that way, because in the tax laws, in US tax laws, there will be many topics where these words will be used: descendants, ascendants. Okay, so any of this, any of this descendants means what? The son's son means grandson will also be considered as your qualifying child if you want to claim them. Okay, next is, third one is residency test. Means this people what whom you are claiming a child should live with the taxpayer for more than 50% of the tax year. Okay, more than 6 months, I can say they should be living with the taxpayer. Third is a residency test. For this support test, the child should not provide more than 50% of their own support. Means what? If a child is incurring, it might happen child is also earning some income. Okay, now out of this income, if he is using the same income for his own basic needs, for clothing, for education, for utilities, paying rents, so total expense which he is incurring for himself, a qualifying child is incurring for himself, if he is paying out of his own pocket, okay, and the parents or the taxpayer is not paying for it, it's being paid out of his own earning only, and which is more than 50%, then that child will not qualify as a dependent. Got it, guys?
Yes.
Any question till now? This was very detailed and very basic thing, but yeah,
I have a question here.
tell me.
Suppose Mr. X's son is 20 years, okay, and till now he was not disabled, but for some reason he is now permanently disabled at the age of 21. Can Mr. X now take credits?
Yes. See, if a child is permanently disabled, the age will not matter. So whether it's at the age of 21 or at the age of 40 years old.
So
Okay.
after 19 he cannot claim, right?
Yeah, after 19 he cannot claim, but now since he's become permanently disabled, he can now fall under the criteria of the exception. So
Okay.
in the year of disability, from that year, you can claim, like Mr. X can claim his son as a dependent,
Okay.
qualifying child. Okay.
Yeah.
After 19, if the person is, pursuing the education, so full-time student, if that person is, so between the 19 to 24 age, you can claim. But there will be some question in exams that they will provide you the age. They will provide you the age and like they will confuse you that the person is not pursuing any full-time education or not a full-time student and the age is 22 years. Okay, then in that case you are not going to claim that person as a qualifying child. But if a person is not a qualifying child, then what other thing we can claim? We can claim him as a qualifying relative.
Okay.
Right, we will come to that qualifying relative. So 4 conditions are clear: relationship, age, residency, and support. And please write down all conditions are necessary to be fulfilled. You can't say only the relationship test, if it is met, then we can claim them as a qualifying child. Other all conditions should be fulfilled. Okay. See why we are doing this chart thing in the class only, because this all and apart from these things are very important. When we solve the questions, we also are going to solve some of the MCQs, important questions in the class only, so that you get an idea about the exam questions, how they are going to come. Okay, so let's move forward. Qualifying child is clear. Next is qualifying relative. Now, if
Ma'am,
a
one
person,
question. I have one
yeah,
question.
yeah, tell me.
If the scenario is under 19 son, which are a criminal, then can claim as a child credit? Matlab, depend.
Less than 19 years.
And he is
Okay.
a criminal.
So whether he's living with the taxpayer during the 50% of the year or not, or
No.
he is in a juvenile custody.
Yes, juvenile custody.
So this condition will not be fulfilled. So he cannot be claimed as a dependent. As I mentioned, all conditions shall be fulfilled. If he is in the he has lived with the taxpayer for more than 6 months, okay, and then he committed some crime, and now he is in the juvenile custody, so his third test is cleared, so you can claim him as a qualifying child, right? Just think about only this 4 situation. Apart rest, any scenario might happen, but it need to pass a relationship test, age test, residency, and a support test. Got it? Next is have you guys written this one, qualifying child criteria? Only 4 criteria. That just write it down. Or maybe I'll just share this whole notes day wise in the group. You all are added in the group, right? In the WhatsApp group.
Yes.
Someone is not added, just send me in the chat box. This daily notes, I'm going to share it in the group. So you can make your own notes from this notes only. And also go through your surgeon material to get more. I want more questions from your side. So, it should be interactive. I also want to know that whether you are understanding things or not. Or maybe there is any change in the pattern which I need to make. So initial stage only, if tell me that, okay, this needs to be done like in a different manner, or we are not getting it. So I can just change my study pattern in the starting only. Okay. Let's move qualifying relative. Qualifying relative, if a person is not fulfilling this all 4 conditions. So like right now, someone asked me that the person is a criminal, and if he has not lived with the taxpayer, so he cannot be a qualifying child, but he can be a qualifying relative. Now again, here all the conditions should be met. Okay. Qualifying relative should not be a qualifying child. Okay, if he's failing this qualifying child test, we can move forward to the qualifying relative test. Okay, next up is support test. Again, support test means what? The person, let's say Mr. A, is claiming his parent, okay, as a qualifying relative on his tax return. Okay, parent can obviously be fall under qualifying relative. Why the parent cannot be a qualifying child? Anyone?
The age criteria is not matching.
Yes, correct. You need to see all the 4 things. Okay, so now parent is been claimed as a qualifying relative in Mr. A's tax return. So what Mr. A should do? Mr. A must provide more than 50% of total support. Just the support test we saw over here, right? Here it is in the opposite manner. It means Mr. A, here it was negative, that child should not provide their own support to themselves. But here it is, Mr. A should provide more than 50% of total support to their parent. Okay, so that he can claim the parent as a qualifying relative. Okay, so that is support test, means more than 50% of the expenses which are incurred for their parents should be paid by the taxpayer. Okay. I'll take one example once we complete all these 4 tests so that you will be able to understand it properly. Third one is gross income. GI means gross income. Gross income test. If so let's say parent is earning some income, then that income should be less than $4,400. This is our latest 2022 limit. Okay, in 2021 it was a different. I don't want to teach you 21 limits. Right now in 22, you need to remember, if the gross income of the parent is up to 4,400, then only you can claim them as a qualifying relative. But if it's more than 4,400, right? If it's more than 4,400, then the third test will be failed. And as I mentioned, all tests must be fulfilled. So due to this third test, you will not be able to claim that person as a qualifying relative. Okay. Next is last one is member of household or relationship test. Now let me explain this thing. Okay. The person should either be a member of household, means what the person should be living with you during the whole year, or the person should be your relative. Okay, relationship test means same: son, daughter, stepchild, foster child, brother, sister, half brother, half sister, all those should be called as a relationship. So relationship test should be fulfilled, or if they are not your relative, then they should be the member of your household. Got it, guys? Whole text here, that person should be living with you. The gross income should be up to $4,400. You should be providing more than 50% of their expenses, right? The support for their day-to-day expenses or meals and all those things. And that person should not be falling under a qualifying child criteria. Or if you're claiming that person as a qualifying child, you cannot claim as a qualifying. See, out of this, you can claim any one, not both. This is a simple thing. Okay, you can't take both the benefits. Either you can take child tax credit or you can take other dependent credit. You cannot take both the credits together. Okay, any question in this? Okay, let me take one example. You guys will answer this question. Okay, let's say your mother received $2,400 as a social security benefit. Okay, see, this is an income, I can say, and $300 as interest income. Okay, now she paid $2,000 for rent and $400 for some recreation activities, like some art and that activities. Okay, and she put $300 in savings account. Okay, so how much is her income? 2,400 plus 300, that is 2,700. Out of the 2,700, she expended 2,000 for rent, 400 for some recreational activities, and 300 she put it in the saving account. Are you guys clear with the question? You can write it down. Okay, now you are going to answer me whether we can claim mother as a qualifying relative, yes or no. Just imagine that yeah, someone is having any doubt. Hitarth, you are not audible at all. Wait, I think you have sent something in chat. No. Okay, Shivam and Hina, you will be added in the group. Don't worry. I'll ask the admin to add you in the group. Hitat, just type your question in the chat. Your audio, I think, is very distorted. So. Okay. So just tell me, assume that the fourth condition is fulfilled already. The mother is already the member of household. So fourth condition is already fulfilled. Now you have to check these three conditions and tell me whether the mother is going to be considered as a qualifying relative or not. I want your answers in chat box. Done, everyone? Okay. Yes, we can claim. Support test not be fulfilled, so can't be claimed. Yes, you are correct. Only Yash answer is correct. See, I'll tell you how. What is the total income of mother? It's 2,700, right? Now, out of the total 2,700, she is spending 2,400 on herself. So I can say she is spending more than 50% on herself. So the support test will not be met. Okay, support test means what? This 2,000, this 400 should have been spent by you, right? To claim your mother as a dependent as a qualifying relative on your tax return. She is paying her own rent. She is paying her own expenses out of her income only. So the more than 50% of her income is being paid by her and not by you. So mother will not be considered as a qualifying relative. Got it, guys? Any question in this? Okay, those who have mentioned yes. Are you clear with it? Hina, Hitesh, Vishal, why we are not claiming mother as a qualifying relative? Hina, are you clear? Okay, you want to write this example, then please write it. I'll not delete it. It will be there on this page only. So you can relate this example while reading it. Okay. So this was about the dependents and qualifying relative. Now let's take one example. Yesterday we took this example, but let me take this example again. Let's say Mr. A is having one of the friend, and that friend is living with Mr. A whole year. Okay. Then in that case, can Mr. A claim his friend as a qualifying relative? Yes or no? This is very simple question, guys. Mr. A, assume that all other three tests are fulfilled. The gross income test is fulfilled, right? This first, second, and third test are fulfilled. I'm just talking about the fourth test. Either the person should be a member of household or should be a relative. Member of household means what? Should live during the whole tax year along with the taxpayer. So the person is living with the taxpayer the whole year, okay? And all other three conditions are fulfilled. So can Mr. A claim his friend right? As a dependent qualifying relative on the tax return, yes or no? On the chat, I have received few answers. Okay, Hitat is saying yes. Rushan is, why Rushan, it's no?
I mean, we can't claim friend as a qualifying relative. Relationship test is not.
Okay. Anyone else? What I mentioned here, see, that's where the people fail. What is this? The thing which I highlighted. Or, right? It's or. So this all three conditions should be met, but if the friend is living with the taxpayer whole year, then you need not have to check the relationship test, right? Or else if the person is a relative, then you don't have to check whether he's living or not the whole year. Got it, guys? What I'm trying to say, only these three conditions are mandatory, and in the fourth condition we have two options, either the whole tax year or a relationship test. It's a or. Now you got it, why you're wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. Lokesh, you were asking some question. Yes, he claimed if he is member of household. Yeah, correct. And right. So now, can we claim his friend? Let me make one twist. So here the answer is yes. Let's say the friend lived with Mr. A for only 11 months. 11 months and 15 days. Can Mr. A claim the friend as a qualifying relative? This type of questions will come in exam, guys. So you have to just be conceptually clear. Don't just mug up everything. Just conceptually understand what are the criteria, and don't get caught up in and or all the criteria, any of the following. This all things will come in the questions. Exams, sorry, not questions. So here, can he claim or not, guys? Yes or no?
He is qualifying relative, as you mentioned.
The friend is not a qualifying, like you need to decide whether he's a qualifying relative, yes or no. The second example we are taking, the first is done already. Okay, so tell me, in the second scenario, can Mr. A claim his friend as a relative, yes or no? The friend has lived with him just only for 11 months and 15 days. Almost whole year she has lived. No answer. Okay. Everyone is no. Now you got it, guys. Even a single, not even a single day is exception. The whole year means whole year. So Mr. A cannot claim, his friend as a qualifying relative. Got it, guys? Let's take one more simple example. Let's say Mr. A is having unmarried son, okay, who lived with him all the year and was 25 years old. Okay, at the end of the year for which we are right now we are calculating, his gross income was $5,000, and he didn't provide any support. Okay, so tell me, guys, whether this child can be a qualifying child, yes or no. Go through the criteria which you guys have written down for the qualifying child. We have 4. relationship, age, residency, or support test. Can Mr. A claim the child as your qualifying child? Yes or no? If yes, then why? If no, then why? Write down in the chat box, guys. Okay, I've got some answers. Age test is failed, right? He can't be a qualifying child. Okay. So can he be a qualifying relative? As I said, if you're failing the age test, right, you cannot be a qualifying child. So now can I say Mr. A can claim his unmarried son as a qualifying relative? See, age test, we got the answer. He is not going to claim as a qualifying child. For qualifying relative, yes or no? Read the question again, guys. Yes or no? He can be a qualifying relative or not? Yes. Hitesh, now you got it correct. Nandish is also correct. Vishal, correct. Yeah, not a qualifying relative. Why Vishal, not a qualifying relative?
Because of that gross income test failed.
Yeah. So 4,400 was the limit, but this person is earning 5,000. Okay. So this type of questions will definitely come in exam. You don't have to get confused and if just jump like, okay, he's not a qualifying child, he will be a qualifying relative. The answer will be whether he will be a qualifying child, option A. Option B, whether he can be a qualifying relative. Option C, none of them. Option D, they will say that any of them. So you have to select none of them. He cannot be a qualifying child and nor be a qualifying relative because of age test and of gross income test. Got it, guys? This was simply about qualifying child and qualifying relative test. And there will be 2 to 3 questions from this topic. So please go through this topic, this criteria properly. Don't skip this before going in the exam. Okay. Now let's move forward. Let me ask you, do you have any questions or doubts? Anyone, guys? No questions? Okay. So let's move to next topic. If you have seen this form, then first and foremost thing which we need to do is, first and foremost is to decide whether this person is going to file what type of return. Either it's a single, MFJ, MFS, HOH, or QSS. Okay, these are the 5 filing status which we yesterday did it, but I want to go through it in a very proper manner. Okay, so we have 30 minutes more. We'll go through the filing status properly. Today we completed the dependents, and then you can revise this board topic properly. Only the first chapter will cover the preliminary things, the basic, filing status and all. So you can go through your first chapter once the filing status is done. Okay, let me explain you about the filing status. Can anyone raise the hands who were not there in the previous session? Okay. 2 people were not there. Okay, no issue. So filing status. I want you guys to make the proper chart for this also. This is also most important topic. First one is single. Okay. Single is nothing but if a person is not married, is unmarried on the last day of the tax year. Okay. on, I can say 31st December for our testing window. On 31st December 2022, if a person is unmarried, he can obviously go for a single filing status. Okay. Next is MFJ. If a person is married on the last day, that is 31st December, then we can file MFJ for that taxpayer. Okay. And in MFJ, all the incomes and expenses will be bifurcated among the taxpayer and the spouse. Okay, so I can say all the tax payment liabilities, responsibility will also be equally bifurcated. Means they will be equally liable. I can say equally liable, not bifurcated, equally liable. Okay, MFJ is simple. Just you need to file a joint return if you are married. But if you are married and still you decided to file a separate return, right? Because of some tax benefits or some credits, or let's say taxpayer is earning but the spouse is not earning. So why spouse should pay the income? Because as it is mentioned, it is equally liable. So why the spouse should pay the income tax on those income which is earned by only taxpayer and not by the spouse, right? So in that case, sometimes there may be some situations where which is beneficial for them to file a married filing separately. So in that case, you can go for a separate return, MFS. Okay. But if you guys remember yesterday, I told you that if you go with this status, there are some disadvantages. Means there are some credits which are not allowed to be claimed. Okay, what are those credits? Can anyone tell me who were there in the previous session? Anyone? You can just define one or two credits which were not allowed if you file a MFS. Yesterday we did that.
Child tax credit, adoption credit.
Yes, child tax credit. Next is
Premium
adoption.
Premium
Yes.
tax credit.
Premium tax credit.
Earned income credit.
On EIC.
EIC, yes. And remember the word related to the child, whatever credits that are linked to the child, because now they are filing MFS. They're not
Education
yeah.
credit.
Education.
Yeah, education credit. Okay. All right. And apart from this, remember one thing, standard deduction. We'll come to the topic just after this. Standard deduction will also be less, right? In MFJ, you guys get the higher benefit, then you get the higher benefit in HOH, right? But here the standard deduction will also be divided amongst the two of like the taxpayer and the spouse. Okay. Now remember one more disadvantage is, if you're filing MFS, if the taxpayer is claiming itemized deduction, we'll come to this, then the spouse will also have to claim itemized deduction. There is a option for the taxpayers and the spouse whether they can claim Schedule A itemized deduction or they can go with the standard deduction. There is an option, whichever is more beneficial, they will go with that. Okay, we will see the limits of standard deduction just after this. Okay, so if the taxpayer is saying that no, I want to claim itemized deduction because I am having lots of deductions which I can itemize. In itemized deduction, we'll come to the list. There is a very long list. There is a whole chapter actually, deductions chapter, which we will understand. But if a spouse said, no, I don't have anything to itemize, I want to claim standard deduction, then it will not be allowed. In case of MFS, if the taxpayer is itemizing the deductions, the spouse should also itemize it. The spouse cannot take a standard deduction if a taxpayer is itemizing it. Okay, we'll come to this. Still, there are open points. There are still needs to be done. Schedule A is whole a new topic, whole a new chapter. Just after the this chapter, the second one is income. In that, we are going to discuss the incomes and deductions. Okay, in that deduction, there will be a Schedule A deduction. Okay. So this were the exceptions, this were the disadvantages, that if you go with the MFS, you are not going to get all these credits. Again, don't worry about the names. If you're listening this name, if you're hearing these names for the first time, you don't have to worry. There is a totally different chapter, that is credits, and once we complete that chapter, you will able to understand this one properly. Okay. In HOH, can anyone tell me what was the criteria for HOH?
An individual can claim, we can claim HOH if all the conditions will be satisfied with respect to filing, marital and household.
Okay, with respect to filing,
marital status and household maintenance.
Okay, yeah. So in HOH status, I can say there were, I explained 4 conditions yesterday. Okay, let me write down over here properly. First condition was the person should be unmarried. Okay, so marital status should be unmarried. Okay, or the person should be considered unmarried. Now, what do you mean by considered unmarried? Yesterday we did it. If the taxpayer and spouse are not living together in last 6 months of the tax year, right? Then in that case, that person can go for a MFS. And for the purpose of HOH status, only for the purpose of HOH status, those taxpayer and the spouse will be considered as unmarried, Got it? First criteria was person should be unmarried. Now here also, all the criteria should be met. See, wherever there is a all, or, and, I'm going to mention it and highlight it. And I want you guys to do the same thing. Else you will get confused. There are a lot of criterias. And see, this is very easy actually. When it's asked in the question, and if you have revised it a lot of time, like this way, and all the things, if you remember properly now, then you can easily play with the question. But if you have mugged it up, you have mugged up the the topics, like, okay, these credits are disallowed. No, there is a concept behind that. Why it's disallowed? All the credits related to the child will be disallowed. Just remember that one chunk is all the child related credits will be disallowed. Don't just mug up all the credits and make some short forms and remember. Don't do that. This is not your Indian exams. In Indian exams, it is fine. You need to list down all the things, and it's a theoretical exam. But this is a wholly MCQ based exam. So go conceptually. And I'm here. I'm happy to help you guys to clear your concept. Okay. The person should be unmarried or considered unmarried. In considered unmarried, there is one situation. If a person, the taxpayer and the spouse are not living together for the last 6 months, okay, and they have decided to file a separate return. Okay, so one person, let's say taxpayer, he is even married but not living with the spouse. Okay, and they have mutually decided to file a separate return. So the taxpayer can go for a HOH status. But again, here it is mentioned all the criteria. So what are the other criteria apart from this? Second criteria is qualifying person. Means either it can be a qualifying child or qualifying relative should be claimed as a dependent on the tax return. So if a person is not having any dependent, he cannot go for HOH status. Okay, the person must have one dependent to claim the HOH status. Okay, guys, this we have already done yesterday, but I want you guys to write it down properly since we are doing it in a very systematic way. We need to keep these notes till the end so that you will be able to revise it before exam again and again. Okay. Third one is qualifying person. Okay, qualifying relatives must be a member of taxpayer family. Means it must be related somehow. It should be son, daughter, maybe daughter, maybe parent, grandparent, any XYZ relative should be there. Now if I take the same question, Mr. A is having his friend who is living the whole tax year with the taxpayer. Can Mr. A claim as HOH status? Yes or no, guys? Mr. A can claim friend as a qualifying relative, right? Correct. But is this qualifying relative a related person? No. Here the third condition is important. The qualifying relative should be a related person to claim as HOH. Now here Mr. A cannot claim as HOH status on the condition that the friend is living the whole tax year with him. Okay, where he or she should be related to claim as a HOH status. Here there is one exception. If instead of friend, your parent are there, okay, then the parent, even if the parent is living with you, yes or no, that doesn't matter. You can claim your parent as a relative and as a dependent, and due to that, you can go for HOH status. Got it, guys? Here the important is the third condition. If any other person is there, that person should be your family member. Got it, guys? Any question?
Yeah, ma'am, does the in-laws count? I mean, the in-laws who are living with the taxpayer, does they count?
Yes, any relative will come. They will count. Your cousins will also come. Your son-in-law, brother-in-law, half brother, half sisters, maybe foster brother, foster child, any in-laws, like they should be somehow related to you guys. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other question, guys? Okay, let me check chat. Is there any question over there? Okay. All right. This was about the HOH MFS. See, yesterday I told you more maximum question. See, why I'm giving you these tips, in during the class only, I'm going to mark down the important topics. Previously, what we did important was qualifying child and qualifying relative, this definition. Okay. Apart from that, right now in the filing status, QSS is important and this HOH is important. Apart from this, nothing is important, but you don't have to skip this in exam. Just I'm saying that focus on these things more when you start studying, when you study by self. Last one is QSS, qualifying surviving spouse. There can be one question from this. because this year only there is an amendment in the name. It was earlier qualifying widower. Only QW was mentioned. Now they have just changed the name. Other rest apart, like whole conditions and everything are same. The name is qualifying surviving spouse. Okay, there can be one question from this topic. Whenever a taxpayer dies, okay, and if the spouse is unmarried, or I can say is a widower, as on 31st of December, okay, in that year, in the year of death, let's say the person dies in the month of June 2022, and on 31st December 22, the spouse is not married to some other person, and the spouse is still unmarried and is a widower. So for tax year 22, spouse will have to file a MFJ return. All right. Now the spouse have 2 more years, means 2023 and 24. If the spouse is still unmarried to some, like not marrying to some other guy, still unmarried, then for this 2 years, spouse can file a status of qualifying surviving spouse. Got it, guys? This much clear? Any question in this?
Can you please explain once again?
Okay. If a spouse is still unmarried, is a widower, okay? The taxpayer has died during the 2022 tax year, right? Now the spouse, when she's filing the return, she can file as a MFJ for tax year 2022. She is having the option for the next 2 years, she can go for qualifying surviving spouse status. Okay, we'll come to the limits. You will understand what are the standard deductions which we are going to take for all the filing status. Depending on the filing status, the amount of deduction is different. Okay, so qualifying surviving spouse you can take as a filing status for next 2 years from the year of death. Once these 2 years are completed, means from 2025, you have 2 options. Either you can go for HOH or you can file as a single. For qualifying as a HOH, you should have a dependent, and that dependent should be your relative. Got it? If you don't have any dependent, if you don't have any relative, then you'll have to file as a single from year 2025 tax year.
I have one question. I have just writing down in chat box.
You have written in the chat, you're saying that. Does spouse need to have dependent to qualify for? No. For qualifying for QSS, there is no criteria for that she should have a child only to be a qualifying. See, if a person marries some guy and within 6 months only there is a death of the spouse, then what happened? From where they can bring the child, right? Within 6 months they can't have a child. So that widower can claim as a qualifying surviving spouse. But after 2 years, if she's remarrying to some, or within these 2 years, if she's remarrying, she cannot claim QSS because she is married to some other person. She will be filing MFJ with that other person. She can't claim at that time as QSS. Okay, so child requirement is not mandatory for QSS, qualifying surviving spouse, but for claiming HOH. If she, after the completion of 2 years, now she want to claim HOH, there has to be a dependent, and that dependent should be a relative. Okay, now I'm not saying that dependent should be a child only. That can be a qualifying child or a qualifying relative. Got it? Next is another question, guys. So I'll move to the list of the standard deduction. No questions? Are you guys writing with me, or you will be writing later on? Nandish, who can claim? We have to forego benefits related to child. Nandish, to answer your question, who can claim child as dependent in MFS? In MFS, both the taxpayer and the spouse need to mutually decide. They both cannot claim the child at the same time. Either the taxpayer or the spouse. Any one of them can claim. Okay. Lokesh, your question is, we have to forego benefits related to child. You're talking to for which concept? I'm not sure. Okay. Let me know any other doubt is there or not. I'll move to the next topic, that is standard deduction. Okay, so for claiming a standard deduction, first you have to check what is your filing status and your age. So two criteria are there. First is your filing status and the second is your age criteria. Okay, now, and according to that, your standard deduction will be there. Means if your gross income falls under this amount, this dollar amount, then you don't have to file a tax return. It's like, a basic exemption limit. In India, there is a basic exemption limit. So if your income is up to that, now you don't have to pay the tax. And if you don't have to pay the tax, you don't have to file the return. Same way, the gross income. Now, what is gross income? If you see over here, all the incomes which are listed over here, okay, line 2, line 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this all are the gross income, means before any adjustments. So this is your total income. Line number 9 is your total income. Out of this, there is some adjustments. So you need to check whether your line 9, right, is it more than or equal to the amounts which right now I'm listing. Then in that case, you'll have to pay the tax and file the tax return. Don't worry about this. This we are going to learn in the chapter incomes. See, our whole part 1 is dependent on the 1040 return. This is your chapter 1. This will be your incomes chapter. Here there will be a credits. Taxes and credits will be a different chapter. Payments, refunds will be a different chapter. So, along with going through the chapters, we are also going to see the 1040 form. So it's not like that after becoming an EA, you don't even know the tax forms. You should at least know where and what items are entered, right? So let's see filing status. First is single. If you're a single and you are up to 65 years of age and the other is more than 65 years, then in that case, the gross income is up to 12,950, then you can easily skip to file the tax return. Okay, so the standard deduction is 12,950 for single. You don't have to remember the limits. In exam, they are not going to ask you the limits. Each year, this limit used to change. So no need to remember it. Okay. If your age is more than 65, then the standard deduction is 14,700. Next is MFJ. For MFJ, there are three limits. 25,900 is the standard limit for MFJ. If you're filing filing jointly, then if the gross income on your 1040 return, line 9, just remember like this, line 9, gross income, like before taking any deduction, if it's 25,900, then you can be exempted from filing the tax, or means there will be no taxes on that amount. Or I can say directly here, you can see line number 12, standard deduction, directly 25,900 will be deducted from your gross income, right? After the adjustments, there will be some adjustments and there will be AGI, We'll come to it. Don't worry about the terminology and everything. We'll understand that in a deep manner. Next is if both spouse are up to 65 years, then they can easily take 25,900 as standard deduction. If one spouse is 65 years, right, or older, and the other is up less than 65 years, then they can take 27,300 as a deduction. If both the spouse are more than 65 years, right, then they can take $28,700 as a deduction. Yes. Any question, guys? This is very simple, and this is like you don't have to remember the limits. So that's why I'm not explaining it. Like there's nothing to explain in the limits. That's why. If you are a MFS, you're filing a separate return. There is no age criteria. Even if you're earning $5 now, you'll have to file the tax return if you decide to file a separate tax return. Okay. Next is HOH. If you are up to 65 years and if you're decided to file HOH, then 19,400 is the limit. And if your age is more than 65 years, then it is 21,150. Next is qualifying surviving spouse, up to 65 years and more than 65 years. See, the amount of qualifying surviving spouse is same as MFJ. Okay, so MFJ, qualifying surviving spouse, both have the same limits. If it's up to 65 years, 25,900, more than 65, then it is 27,300. Okay, so the highest benefit is for MFJ and QSS. And apart from that, the second highest benefit is for HOH. So now you can plan accordingly for your clients. Like whenever there is a tax return they are assigning you, you have to decide what is the maximum benefit that the person can take. You need to consider under what criteria that person falls. Can he claim HOH? Can he claim MFJ or a single? Right? For that, you need to go through the client's preliminary details, previous year's tax data you need to go through, and then decide whether the person in what filing status that person can take the maximum benefit. This is a part of a tax planning. Okay. So this was about filing requirements, which we have done right now. There is one more thing which we need to consider over here. That will take in the next session. That is about if a person is blind, right? Then there are some different, I can say, standard deductions. Okay. If a person is blind or 65 years, there is a different condition. If a person is blind and 65 years of age, there is a different condition. If both the taxpayer and spouse both are blind and 65, or maybe one is blind and one is 65, there are so many permutation combinations. I want you guys to go through it. I'll share one reading material for this one in the group, and also this whole notes which we have done right now. Just go through the topic, and then in the next session we'll continue with this, and probably we'll start with the new chapter, that is incomes. Okay, guys?